Welcome, casemakers near and far. I'm Dr. Tiffany Manuel, and I'm the CEO and founder of The Case Made. One of the best things about the work that I do is that I get to travel the globe, and I get to hear amazing people who are doing the kind of things in their communities that are just so awesome. And when I hear great case making, there's only one thing that comes to mind: fierce. That's the energy of this series, and that's why I've invited you in. So come on in, take a listen. This is Fierce Case Making. Well, welcome back, everybody. I am so fortunate and lucky to be joined by my now good friend, Chris Krehmeyer, who leads Beyond Housing out of the fantastic and amazing St. Louis, Missouri. And I want to just say, first of all, thank you, Chris, for joining me today. And I want to say a little bit about how we met, because I actually knew of you before I met you in person. So some people know that, because of the case making work, my ears to the ground all over the country, looking in for great places where people are making the case in amazing ways for their work. And I don't know where I heard about the work around Dear Lou and the Once and For All campaigns. But once I saw and heard what y'all were doing there relative to that, I started sharing that all over the place before I even met you, right? Completely like, listen, y'all got to look at what these folks are doing. This is how you talk about the work. This is how you lift up the voice of community. This is how you do it. And then I had the opportunity, after a little while, to on the planning committee for one of the roundtables of the National Academies of Medicine. And when we were talking about like who's doing the kind of incredible community building work, making strong case for what it looks like, I'm like, Beyond Housing. Have you seen Once and For All? Have you seen Dear Lou? Have you seen? Right. And so then you and I had got the chance to actually meet in person at those meetings. And you just blew me away all over again.
Well, I appreciate that, Tiffany. It's been great to get to know you, and obviously trying to tell our story in as many places as we can. And the National Academy of Sciences was a great opportunity. And actually, I'm going back there later this month. They asked me to come back for something else, so hopefully we can keep telling the story, get people to pay attention, see what we're doing. Happy to share what we've learned, but also look, we need more resources to get it done. Now more than ever, given the circumstances of the day. The support that it takes to do this important work is a greater necessity than ever.
Absolutely. So before we get into the interesting and perilous nature of the moment that we're in, I want to say to you that, the work in Beyond Housing is just so off the chain incredible. Right? Despite the incredible odds of the work that y'all are doing there, just wow. So I'd love to just have, my viewers hear from you, just the kinds of work that y'all have been doing over now, what 20 years, 30 years?
It's about 16 years, 17 years in our community. So the way we describe it, Tiffany, is that we're a comprehensive community building organization. Our mission is to strengthen families and transform communities to create a more equitable and prosperous St. Louis once and for all. So what we know is everything in community is interrelated and interconnected. And if we don't recognize the challenges that communities that have been disinvested, that have been ignored, that have again had systemic racism do so much harm for so many years and so many generations, and we're never going to see any results. So we believe in tackling everything that makes up a strong and healthy community. And the way we learn that is by a methodology we call Ask, Align, and Act. Ask folks who live here, like, this is your home, tell us what's working, what's not working. But more importantly, what are the solutions to the problems you see every day? Align the resources, again, the hardest part of this work. Again, both align dollars and other organizations, and a solid execution of mission delivery day in and day out to, again, meet the needs of community. And then lastly, act, because folks in the community are just weary of well-intentioned folks,
That's
by
right.
and large, having conversation but not getting stuff done. So this past 16, 17 years, we've invested over $200 million in our community, building new homes for home ownership, building homes to add to our rental portfolio. Now is 650 units, and then we just started doing some third-party property management for close to another 200 units. So we touch over 850 again housing units in our geography. We do first-time home buyers program, down payment assistance. Again, we help families again live out their part of the American dream. We've rehabbed over 1,500 homes in the community, mostly owner-occupied, single-family structure. These are all kind of entering suburbs is where we operate, kind of post-World War II, little modest bungalows where people have raised their kids. Their kids are now long gone, and these seniors, don't have either the financial capacity or the interest in taking out any debt to reinvest in their homes.
Right.
So we give them $25,000 in grant funds, new roofs, new windows, new HVAC systems, upgrade plumbing and electrical to do a couple of things. One, make sure the seniors can stay in their homes, but as important, improve the value of the homes. And in addition to improving the value of the homes, then you're also going to improve the tax base for the broader community, which means there's more money for kids, more money for schools, more money for public safety, all the kind of important things that happen in community. And in addition, the hope is that over time, when mom and dad or grandma and grandpa leave the house for whatever reason, the family wants to hang on to it.
That's right.
Whether they want to live in it, whether they want to sell it, whether they want to rent it, but it remains an asset to again both to that family and to the broader community. We have staff embedded in our local school system, which is still struggling like so many other school systems across the country. We have 15 staff people embedded in the schools, focusing on, quite frankly, the stuff that gets in the way of children being successful at school. We have food and we have an office in every school building. So we have food, we have school supplies, we have crisis intervention funds, we have school uniforms. We stand in the space with kids that struggle each and every day with a variety of different things that prevent them from fully accessing what our school district has to provide. We have a match savings program at the high school. You save $1, you or your family will match it with $3 to pay for post-secondary education. We've sent, it'll be soon, almost 500 kids to college. We have about 160 college graduates at this point in time. Again, invest in our children. And again, whether that's, two-year university, 4-year university, whether that's trade school, beautician school, barber school. Again, we're not setting a stage for what you have to do. We say, how can we support you in whatever your dreams and aspirations are and help you move forward? We do economic development. We built and own and operate a 4-screen, 375-seat movie theater. Cheapest ticket prices here in St. Louis, $7.50 and $10.50. If a single mom with her kids, if grandparents raising their grandkids want to have a fun night, they can't afford $100, $200 to go watch a movie. So intentionally try to keep, again, price points low. We hire kids from our local high school who actually are part of our match savings program. So not only they get a paycheck, but once that paycheck's deposited, we triple their money. So again, find some connectivity. We also hire seniors. We have 2 seniors working in our senior building, which is catty corner from the movie theater, that walk across the street and come to work every day, which is a fantastic and wonderful thing. We built and own a food hall, 3 restaurants and a pub. The community said we'd love to have sit-down restaurants in our community that aren't fast food joints, because that's all that we have. And then we want the entrepreneurs to look like us. So again, we have all 4 of those business owners look like folks in community. Again, intentional, and we support them along the way with a variety of other supports in addition to just being their landlord. On that same building, on the second floor, there's a community kitchen where we're helping young folks, again, learn the culinary arts. There's an employment agency, and on the bottom floor, there's also a gym. So again, we have a bunch of trainers who lease out the space and again have private training sessions for their clients. We also built 2 senior buildings. We have a full-service bank and on the bottom floor of one of the senior buildings. We built and own a grocery store. We've had 2 different operators who couldn't make a go of it, and that has nothing to do with our community. That has to do with the operators. One regional firm got bought by a hedge fund, and that was the beginning of the end of that store working. And the second operator expanded too fast, and their whole business collapsed. Again, our folks in our community good product, good price, good customer service, they're going to buy some groceries. We have a forestry department. We planted over 1,000 trees in the community. We've trimmed another 700 and taken down another 800 trees. Our plan for the next 3 years is to build another to plant another 1,000 trees in community. When you think about trees in community, sometimes people say, well, why are you doing that? Well, a couple of things. One, a healthy tree canopy, one, is aesthetically pleasing and looks good, but more importantly, it gives you shade from the summer sun,
Yep.
and it gets rid of the heat island, and it also takes toxins out of the air. The biggest reason why our kids miss school is asthma. Right. So again, if we have a healthy tree canopy, again, it helps the community in a variety of different ways. We have community health workers on staff focusing on asthma and diabetes, two of the chronic diseases that, again, plague our community in a real and meaningful way. So again, we try to help people with, again, their health and their well-being, their how they live their lives, exercise, diet, those kinds of things. We're not clinicians, but again, we try to support people in a lot of different and meaningful ways. Again, the whole idea here, as my speed talking, description of who we are says, that again, if we're going to have a successful place, you have to have all the things that, quite frankly, all of us want, right?
That's right.
We want to live in a good house that has good value. We want to live in a community that's safe. We want to have good schools. We want to have access to the things that we want each and every day. Again, what we've done historically, not only in St. Louis, but quite frankly, all across the country, is we've tried to put up siloed solutions like a housing solution
right.
or an education solution or a health solution, and just not recognize that those things alone are good, but not yet sufficient to turn the place around.
That's right.
And to help a community and those families that live there, move the trajectory of their life in a real and transformational kind of way. So we refuse to keep doing the same stuff that collectively we've done across the country and spent billions of dollars on poverty alleviation. And quite frankly, don't have much to show for it other than, sure, some wonderful individual stories, right? I can tell you a bunch of individual stories until the show's over. But that's not the point, brother. The point is systems change, and the point is community level outcome change. So we're hoping that we can create a model that's replicatable, not only here in St. Louis, but quite frankly, all across the country.
Well, first of all, let me just say, wow. Every time I hear you talk, I am just absolutely blown away by just the scale and comprehensiveness of what you have been able to do. And I think you talked about that. Like, there are there are folks who do different parts of this journey in different places, but they're not doing it all together in a very comprehensive way. And so if you're only doing one or two of those things, but not the other things, it's really tough to help people hold their lives together in a way that most of us expect to do in our lives, right?
Yeah. No, we had the good fortune. Jeffrey Canada from the Harlan Children's Zone was in St. Louis earlier this week, and again, they just a fantastic, cradle to career programmatic element, which is great. And we have some of those component parts, but not all of them. So yes, I want us to do that and invest in housing and invest in community health and invest in economic development and invest in community infrastructure and invest in all the other things that are going to make a place successful.
That's right.
So it's this breaking out of the mold of being excited about doing one thing, right? It's not just one thing. It's so much more than that. And certainly, Jeffrey Canada's, the pitch is not just education alone, but clearly it's education focused. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I just want to make sure in our work and when we talk about the work, yes, it's education and it's everything else, and they're all interrelated and interconnected. Right. And quite frankly, we have all the research, right? If you live in a good, stable home where your family's financially stable, guess what? There's a great chance that you're going to do better in school.
That's right.
Right. Not rocket science, right?
That's right.
And the research
No, that's right.
So again, do we have the collective courage to invest in people in place in a different way, in a comprehensive way, versus either a siloed way that we do it, or certainly in St. Louis, you sprinkle money around a little bit everywhere and you have no impact.
That's right.
And everybody seems happy in the moment with the sprinkling versus saying, what can we really do to change the trajectory of a community and not just a handful of people who move on to home ownership or who kids do well. Those are good things, but again, not sufficient to have real life change.
Love it. So let me ask a couple questions. I think one of the questions that comes up for me is just how you get to the level of comprehensiveness that you all do, because one of the reasons why so many other community-based organizations specialize, they either do affordable multifamily rental housing, or they do the sort of single family Habitat for Humanity, single family home kind of stuff, or they do education, and they do that because it takes so much expertise to kind of specialize to get good in that one lane. But you have really, just the level and the not just depth, but breadth of what you're doing means you got to be a little bit of an expert in education and multifamily and single family and, all kinds of things, right? And it's hard for a staff to have the capacity to do that and then to engage the level of community partners that you have to engage to be good at that, right? Talk about that, because that is just outstanding and very difficult for many communities across the country who are trying to do what you're trying to do and not always succeeding in the way that you are.
Well, look, I think you have to have some intentionality, right? And you have to be willing to take some risks and do some hard stuff. At the end of the day, look, we can keep doing what we've been doing, right? But we know what the outcomes are going to be, right? So let's figure out how to get this done. Look, we're hardworking folk, but so everybody else, right? We're not that damn smart, right? So it's just, do you have the courage to say what we're doing is not sufficient? When I got this job 32 years ago, all we did was housing, right? And over the years, we're like, this is just not enough,
right?
So how do we figure out how to do more? Now, look, everybody doesn't have to be exactly like us, but you need to be connected in your work with people who are doing these other facets, right? And be connected in a real and meaningful way, not a surface level way where you want to tell some funder, oh yeah, I work with a housing organization, I work with that health organization, but it's just kind of surface level and it's not really connected, right? You're not sharing clients, you're not sharing caseloads, you're not sharing information about people that you serve. So for us, it's like we were just committed. Like, look, this is we have to do things in a different way. And how do we raise the money to do it? Because obviously, there's a capital cost to all of this. How do you raise the money and how do you build relationships? Look, the first and most important thing, if anybody wants to kind of replicate kind of what we're doing, is you got to build relationship with community folks. At the end of the day, I don't care how much money we raise. If we don't have a relationship in community, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. So whether it's with elected officials, and we have a bunch of those, community leaders, which we have a bunch of those, whether it's school district folks and other people, you got to have relationships. And part of that relationship is you're serious about working with and for them, hearing their voice, deliver on the things that they say are important. And again, you will respect them and you will be in place, right? You won't run away the first time a grant ends, right? Oh, sorry, that grant ran out. We got to stop. Well, yeah, don't go in that kind of relationship by saying, I might be here 12 months and I can't give you anything past that. Like who wants that in any relationship, right?
Right.
Yeah, look, I can date you for about 12 months, but after that, I got to go. Right? It doesn't work, right? So you got to be committed to say, if we do the same stuff we've been doing, we know what the outcomes are going to be. And quite frankly, we've lost too many children along the way. Too many communities have suffered dramatically. Too many families have lived through far too much, and I, for one, am unwilling to continue down that path because we know what doesn't work, and we're trying to prove what we believe can work with enough capital, with enough execution, with enough partnerships to, again, bring the success that people deserve.
Absolutely. And one of the things that strikes me about a lot of your work is just how incredibly disruptive it is. And I think from a case-making standpoint, when you are trying to do stuff that is different from what everybody else is doing, but that meets the need. Like you were talking about that, just being courageous. Like, we know that doesn't work, so we're about to do something different. And yet you're talking to folks who are literally the shepherds of the existing system. So you're saying, listen, I get that that's your job and that's what you do, but my community needs something different, and we're about to lean in that direction. So come along with us or not, but this is going to happen. And that can be a tough conversation. So talk to me a little bit about what that conversation has looked like for a lot of because y'all are doing big things. Stuff that's way outside of the ordinary, everyday community building.
Look, if you want to be liked or loved, I'd just go buy a dog, right? Because they'll love you unconditionally, right? If you're about the work, then be willing to have uncomfortable conversations in a respectful kind of way. But look, this is the way we believe it has to work. And if you want to join us, great. If you're not, then this is not the right place. We've over the years, I've asked some not-for-profits, like, nope, you can't work here no more. Right? Because I help fund them. One, we coordinate wraparound services for a school district, and we've said some folks that, look, you haven't delivered on what you said you were going to do after a reasonable amount of time, and then we're going to thank you for trying, but this is not the right place for you, right? So, at the end of the day, if what you care about is your parochial self-interest, then for us, you're not the right kind of partner. And now, that doesn't mean I don't want you to be wildly successful. I do. But I want you to do it because of the work you're doing in this community, because of the partnerships you have with us and so many others, because you believe in it is no longer okay to watch another generation of children slip through the cracks and not live up to their potential and be damaged and be harmed. It's just not okay. If you can't be with that, then you're not the right partner for us in this community, because that's our expectation of ourselves. And that's the expectation we have, and this community has, because they've seen the power of what's possible, right? And they don't want to. They're not going to tolerate anything less than that, nor would I expect them to.
Absolutely, and I'd say one of the things that we at the Case Made, we talk a lot about for folks who are trying to do big, bold things that are disruptive, that haven't been done before, is that you're going to have to talk people into their power, so that they can play the roles they need to do the things that you need them to do, right? And so it just strikes me that given the level and scale of what you are asking folks to do, big, bold things that they haven't done before, stuff that's not like what has happened in the community for the last 1,500 years, whatever it is, that you've had to talk people into their power. Even some of the folks who have formal power, they have nice titles in front of their names, they're funders, they're policymakers, they're this level of office holder, this large not-for-profit with a nice size title, but they don't have a sense of their power and what they can do. And in order for them to be who they need to be, you got to talk them into it a little bit. Like, look, right? I wonder how you think about that.
Well, I mean, look, I think there's a couple of facets to that. So for community folks, sometimes people don't know what they can wish for, right? Because they've been used to the scarcity mentality, right? We can't have those kinds of things here, so I can't even dream about them. So sometimes you just got to help people kind of work through that and just say, we think this is possible. Like a movie theater and like a food hall, and when the grocery stores were open, they've been open. The grocery stores operated for 12 out of the last 15 years, right? And they were like, "Oh my God, we got a grocery store." So sometimes it's again, helping people to know what they can wish for. And then for others, it's look, you just have to convince them that this is the right way to go, and together we can be successful. Right? Everything we're doing here, we know is the right work. And we always tell other not-for-profits, look, in particular, we believe whatever you're doing, I don't care what it is, it will be better if it's nestled in this thing we're doing.
Right.
Because we're going to give you the connective tissue for some other stuff that I don't care what your mission is. There's something we're doing that's going to support the population that you're serving.
That's right.
And come join us.
That's right.
Come join us. Come join us in the work.
Yeah.
And then for elected officials, it's just, dear Lord, don't be scared. Just come on. Just
keep coming. Come on.
It's going to be all right. Right. We've been here a minute. We didn't show up yesterday. And then I think for someone who wants to kind of be in a leadership role of some sort in this kind of work, you got to execute, get stuff done. At the end of the day, at this point, all these years later, people at a minimum know those beyond the housing folks, they get some stuff done.
Right.
Right. So it's not just lip service. It's not, pie in the sky. We get stuff done. Right. And that's that trust building, right? Building deep and trusting relationships is really important. And part of that is you do what you say you're going to do.
That's right.
Right.
Both
if you do that,
both in terms of the residents, because you got ask, align, and act, right? You got that lined up really well, and you can ask folks. But then if they give you information and you don't follow up on that, or you don't follow through, they lose the thread of who they thought you are. But when you follow through and they say, wait a minute, they listened for real. They responded for real. They really did align resources behind what we asked for, and they acted on the information we gave them. Now you have a different kind of community partnership with residents than other folks are able to have. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's critically important, right? Too often in this kind of work, people come and go, right? And folks in community have every reason to distrust folks.
Absolutely.
Right. I get it. Like, you're leery of. One great example is traditional banks, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of folks in community don't like traditional banks because they were taken advantage of.
Right.
That's just factual. Right. I'm not saying all banks are bad. I'm just saying there is clearly a defined factual history to that end. So when sometimes people say, well, why don't they love us? Well, because they have reason not to love you, right? Like, just own that, right? So again, it's getting people past these kind of mores, right? And again, for us, the other piece of this trusting relationship is, when you make mistakes, and we have, my Lord knows we're not perfect, and we're going to make some more mistakes somewhere down the road. I just hope not the same mistakes we made in the past, right? To have a real relationship, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And that means saying you're sorry and apologizing for something you didn't do right or do well. And we've had to do that over the years. And I've raised my hand and apologized in front of large groups of people because we didn't do some stuff the right way.
That's right.
Again, but not with malice or bad intention, right? We just didn't execute well.
That's right.
And I think no one has ever once said to me, Chris, I'm glad you owned it, right? But I know they appreciated it. Because I didn't have to, right? I could have danced around it and pretended like it wasn't that big. No, we didn't do that right. So again, being in a relationship where people trust you. Now, look, not everybody loves us, right? We still get stones thrown at us for whatever reason. But you do the work. You show up every day. It's not about the groundbreakings and the ribbon cuttings, right? Those are the easy things to go to. Like, are you there when there's a problem?
Right.
Right? Do you show up when... The mayor emailed me yesterday and said, hey, Chris, we have a 114-unit townhouse complex, and we had some people not living in the complex, but some people come in and dumped a bunch of furniture and trash in our dumpsters. So when the mayor shoots me an email with some pictures, say, hey, could you take care of this? Guess what we do? We take care of it. I don't complain. I don't, bitch and moan about it. I'm like, all right, but we'll take care of it. Now, I could tell that mayor a few other things but I'm like, no, that's not the point, right? The point is that's not okay, and we should take care of it. So, again, this idea of if you're sincere about real transformational change, we have to do things in a different way. And if the decisions that you are making don't make you a little bit uncomfortable, then you're not having the right conversations.
That's right.
Because we have to do things in a different way, and that's uncomfortable, and I get it. And I'm not suggesting run off a financial cliff and be foolhardy. I'm just saying if you really want real change, then you have to think about things differently, fund it differently, and be willing to take some risks. Because if you're not taking risks, we're going to have the same outcomes we've always had.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about, you talked a lot about what's happening in the community right around you, but you've also done a lot of work to align folks across the region in some very specific and powerful ways. I'd love for you to talk about that work, because oftentimes for community builders, they get really specific to the community around them, but they don't have the kind of impact they'd like to have across a region in aligning some of the, the challenges across there. And you've really taken it on to do some of that work, obviously not in perfection, but certainly to try to align some of those things that make sense. Talk a little bit about that work.
Right. So again, our work is in the boundaries of a local school district. And we have in St. Louis, we have a lot of small municipalities and a whole bunch in our geography, as well as a bunch of school districts. So again, our work is we picked a school district that's got a lot of challenges, that's got 100% of kids receive free and reduced lunch, not unlike a number of other school districts around here, right? So part of what we do is say, here's our story, right? Here's what we're doing and why. right? If we want the region to get healthier and stronger, here's some things that we're confident that need to happen, and we'll give everybody a template on how we do it, how you get it done, what are the component parts, what are the pieces, and again, it's the power of what's possible. Again, too often, folks don't think anything different can happen because somebody else tried and that failed, and all the other excuses why. And again, so whether it's thinking about public education and again the interconnectivity of the strength of what's inside the four walls of the schools, and then again serving kids and families outside of the four walls of school is not just for our community; it's for 50% plus of the St. Louis region that has those same kinds of issues. So we espouse those kinds of things. Again, I mentioned there was a bunch of small municipalities in St. Louis County. It's the way it's evolved in the 1940s and 50s. We have 22 small little cities in the boundaries of our community, and there's 90 some odd municipalities in St. Louis County for 1 million plus people. Doesn't make much operating sense, no, but it is what it is. So none of the folks here created it. They're just trying to operate the best they can. So we've facilitated 2 mergers, the only 2 mergers in St. Louis County history. And we've said, look, this is what's possible, not just in our community, but other places as well. And here's kind of the roadmap, and here's kind of how you do it. On the August ballot, we're going to have 17 communities coming together to working on a transportation development district, a taxing district, for roads, sidewalks, and curbs and other larger transportation projects. In this community, we complain we can't get two communities to work together, and we got 17 working together. Right. So again, it's just showing people this is what's possible.
That's right.
If we want to think differently. And then the other thing that's so frustrating, this is both with philanthropy and the public sector, is incentivize the behavior that you want. Right. If you want greater collaboration with municipal governments, guess what? Incentivize that.
That's right.
Right. Don't beat people out the head and shoulders, tell them they're bad. No, that doesn't work. Right. You start swinging a stick at me, I promise you, I'm fighting back. Right. Right, just incentivize me, right? Entice me to say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I might be. So it's trying to tell people in the region there's a different way to think about our problems,
That's right.
a different way to talk about our problems, and a different way to kind of solve our problems.
That's right.
Another example would be our grocery store, right? So we built a 17,000 square foot grocery store. Again, I mentioned we had 2 operators, and they both failed, not because our community didn't buy groceries, right? Which is the kind of the normal, this doesn't work in low income communities. No, both of them was the operator's problem. So as I'm trying to reoccupy the store, I'm going to philanthropy and saying, look, we got a lot of problems in community. One of them isn't starvation, right? People are eating, they just don't have access to healthy food and affordable food. So instead of thinking about a financing structure that is your suburban financing structure, where you got people with a lot of wealth and a lot of disposable income, and they fill their cart up and spend a whole bunch of money every time they go to the store, right? That's not the model that's going to work here. And so what I mean by that is, so I'm going to need a small operator to operate our store because the big guys aren't going to come because they feel it's a low-income community. We can't make it happen. So I've told philanthropy to reoccupy our store. It's going to take about $600,000-$700,000 to restock it. And you're going to take at least 6 to 12 months in losses until you build your customer base. So either grant me $1 million where I can subsidize the operator to get his feet underneath him, make a forgivable loan, an interest-only loan, think creatively about how we do this and not say, oh, well, I don't know how to work it because it's a small margin business. And no, just stop. You're creative in other places, right? There's a whole lot of creativity in the world when there's money to be made, right? But why can't we have creativity in places like this where I do want a grocery store operator to make some money? Right. I'm not asking anybody to come to community and lose money. I'm just saying, in this case, to philanthropy or the public sector, let's think about the problem differently. Let's finance it differently so we can have longitudinal success. Where this business owner is successful, the community has access to a grocery store that meets their needs. And guess what? We, as the landlord of the damn building, have an opportunity to make a little money over time as well. Because what I've said in this scenario is I won't charge the tenant, the grocery store operator, any rent. Right? Because the way I finance the building, I don't have to. So here's my part. Here's the innovation. I'm not charging rent. I need you to front side the money to get them going. And then the operator, you gotta be successful. And community, you got to go to the store and buy the groceries.
Right.
So again, think about these problems differently and stop throwing your hands up and saying, oh, we can't do this or we don't know how to solve this. There's nothing in community we don't know how to solve if we're willing to be creative and take some risks.
That's right. Just Chris, I'm just, I'm always in awe of you, but just the level of what I call social entrepreneurship that you are engaged in every day, like the community. I heard you when you said, ask, align and act. So you know the things that people are asking for. You're trying to align the resources around that and then act on that. But the level of what you call creativity that you have to bring to that, right, to get people to imagine the thing that you need in the community when they may not on the face of it be willing to take the same bet that you are on community, and to pull folks together and get them in the spirit of possibility to do that. You and I both know, right, that's not even a leap of faith. Like the numbers do pencil out, but you got to get somebody to take the leap with you. And so that level of just entrepreneurial, let me figure out if they can give this part, and if we can get this part, and if we can pull this around, if we can jerry rig that, little duct tape, glue, gum, whatever we need to pull this thing together, we're going to do it and then deliver it for community. That ball of work is just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Well, I appreciate that, Tiffany. I think, look, we just do the work every day. At this point, where I don't look in the rear view mirror a lot. I'm looking out the windshield because there's more work to be done. Look, we're driven by people in this community deserve better. They just really do, and they're not alone. This happens to be the community that we work in, and I'm unwilling to keep doing the same stuff that we know doesn't work. I'm unwilling to say, "Oh, that's too scary. We can't do that." Now, again, look, this is a business, right? I have a board. I have lenders. I have funders, right? So it's not like we're randomly foolish and wasting people's money. No, we're good stewards. We're fiduciary agents of other people's dollars. However, we are willing to say we've done our risk analysis, we've done some calculus, and here's what we think is possible if we can make this thing successful, and here's the worst case scenario if we don't. Right, and we're willing to march down that path and try to execute on stuff. Look, the movie theater doesn't make us any money. It's a dying business, but it's a business that still can function. And the movie theater can also be used for other stuff, right? We're doing birthday parties, we're doing events, we're doing, we're selling ads we're just a whole ton of stuff that's community related, right? So again, in that case, people say, well, again, does that make any money? It doesn't make any money, but if we can have it not lose a lot, and again, employ folks in community, help build the tax base, have there be entertainment. We watch the Super Bowl there. We're doing other events there. So again, it's a placemaking strategy that, again, people just have to be okay and comfortable with saying, can we do things a different way? And the end result is we all win.
That's right.
Right? As a region, St. Louis wins if our community is healthier and stronger.
That's right.
Right. Again, it's just so frustrating sometimes when we are so myopic in our viewpoint about we can't spend money on that. Well, why can't we? Right? What if we don't? What's going to happen?
Exactly.
Well, we know. We've been watching.
Exactly.
Right? There's so much research that is in whether it's invest in early childhood education. It works, right? The best thing you do for a child, invest in early high quality early childhood education. Do we do that as a country? No.
Right.
Not because research isn't there.
Right.
Right. It's like, what other business says, hey, that thing that's not working, let's just keep doing that.
That's right.
It just makes no sense, right? Again,
Absolutely.
And you can use your research on a multitude of things across the spectrum of what happens in community. And we know what works. We've not had the courage to say, we're going to fund that.
Yeah.
Right? And all these false narratives about, people being unwilling to work, it's all bogus.
Yeah.
Right? We know what works. You give people an opportunity to live a better life. Guess what? They're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be perfect, but they're going to work hard and they're going to be committed. Will there always be a small set of outliers? Yes. Right? But it will not be as large as the population now of folks who struggle mightily day in and day out. Right? We're back in the food distribution business.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in that business.
That's right.
I don't.
That's right.
Because that's transactional. I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in work that's transactional. I want to be in work that's transformational.
I love it.
But people are hungry, so we got to stand in that space with them.
Yeah.
You know, and again, there's more challenges to come. We're just, I think, seeing the tip of the iceberg in terms of the challenges that our community is going to face, unless something dramatically happens, particularly in our nation's capital.
I agree with that. I want to turn there, but before I do there, the sort of forward-looking, what comes next, and how are we showing up in the moment in a season that's really tough. I want to just hit on two things. When you talked about this notion of building a strong we around all of us together, like we're all in this together. This is St. Louis all together, right? So to pretend as if this one part of St. Louis is off to an island by itself and doesn't affect the other pieces doesn't make any kind of sense. And you talked about that. And then next to that, you talked about if we don't invest in this part of St. Louis, right, the outcomes of that are disastrous, not just for the folks who live in that community, but for everybody. So we have a shared stake in what's happening here. And having that conversation be real is super important.
I ain't that smart, but I know that, right? Look, we've seen the downward spiral of parts of our region. And we're literally not doing anything different than in years past.
Right.
And then we get frustrated. Well, why aren't things better over there? Well, because we haven't done anything to make them any better. Right. It's just foolish, right? And again, sometimes, you know, leadership and this myopic view that you think you can solve something quickly is just so terribly frustrating. Right. You have to invest in everything that makes up a successful place.
That's right.
And if you're unwilling to do that, then, you know, don't spend any money. Because guess what? You may feel good in the moment, right?
That's
transactional.
Right. That's right.
You may feel good in the moment, right? You handed somebody a box of food. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that if people are hungry.
Right.
I'm saying don't think that's sufficient.
Right. Don't stop there.
Right? No.
That's
like
really,
what has brought you to this space, and how can we help you get to a better place for yourself and for your family?
Absolutely.
And what does that look like, and how do we support you along the way, and then hold you accountable to do your part?
That's right.
Right. Again, we have these false narratives about you know, who works hard and who doesn't, and you know, give away money, and stop.
That's right.
Just stop. Those are all false narratives, and people buy into them. And yeah, look, do people try to cheat the system? Of course, and they always have, and they always will. Let's try to stop them and prevent them, but stop. You know, again, throwing a large net and acting like, oh, there's a whole bunch of people doing this. No, it's not the case. It's never been the case.
That's right.
And a bunch of rich folks try to cheat the system too.
That's right.
Right. So
or just let's not providing resources to the broader whole, because you think there might be one or two folks
yes,
who may not be, you know, acting with integrity with respect to what the rules are. But let me ask you this, Chris. You know, one of the thing that the thing that really brought me to your work, even before I knew the broader implications of the amazing stuff that you do, is what was happening on the narrative side, right? The sort of once and for all campaign, and the sort of Dear Lou, which is phenomenal. Talk a little bit about what brought you to do that work on top of the actual housing, education, homeownership, all of that work. What brought you to that space?
Well, I mean, look, it's like almost any business, right? No one tells Apple not to market your stuff, right? And let people find you, you know, organically. No, we needed to tell our story, right? Because we knew the work we were doing was different. And if we're going to generate the capital we need, again, philanthropy and otherwise, we had to tell a story. And we had to tell a bold and audacious story, not a, look at us, we're in the trenches doing, you know, our work. So who cares, right? Right. And in a landscape where, quite frankly, there are too many not-for-profits, and philanthropy kind of throws their money around, you know, here or there, and the new shiny penny shows up, and they have a new priority, you know, every 3 years. How do you tell a different story get people's attention? And we were very intentional. And, you know, I tell my peers, and sometimes it's hard, right? Because there's this old narrative that, oh, not-for-profit shouldn't spend any money on marketing. Right. Or if any not-for-profit ever tells you, we spend 100% of your donations on mission work. No, you don't. You don't. You can't.
You can't, right.
right? So for us, we want to tell a story that is bold, that's audacious, that reflects who we are, what's our brand, what do we believe in, what do we stand for, what are we trying to accomplish, and get more people to see us, to help us, to support us, and tell others. And if you don't have a story to tell, if you don't have a narrative that's compelling, if you don't have, I was reading a book the other day by Tom Freeman. He just kind of talked about, writing in general, right? If you don't create heat and light, then you're not successful, right? Heat is you're having somebody become passionate about whatever your message is.
Oh, love that.
And light, again, illuminating something that people may not fully understand. And so much of our work is, because our work is so different than everybody else, it takes a minute like, oh, I never thought about that way. I never thought about the interconnectivity of things, and that we can't just do one thing in communities that have struggled for a long time. So again, we try to bring heat and light to, everything that we put out in the universe, so people hopefully can understand what we're doing, get excited about what we're doing, and then find some way to get engaged and help us, whether it's a contribution, sharing a story, or jumping in and volunteering.
And where did the ideas for both those come from? So the Once and For All, I know the story, but I'd love to hear you talk about that. And then also just the Dear Lou videos, which are just fantastic.
So I mean, look, Once and For All is just language that I would use frequently, and our marketing folks said, Chris, you say that a lot. I'm like, yeah, man, because once and for all, can we do something different? Right? And it's just simply from that. And again, obviously, it's a play on words too, right?
Right.
Once and for all, right? For everybody, right? Everybody should be successful.
That's right.
And then the idea of Dear Lou, it's a love letter to the region, right? So if people, listen to this, want to go to, dearlou.org, you'll see a series of letters, and no one talks about Beyond Housing, because that's not the intent.
Right.
It's just the intent to say, hey, we all know in the region we got a lot of problems. We got some good things happening. But boy, if we can just come together as a region and tackle our big problems, we can be everything that we want to be. So we got a former all-star pitcher from the St. Louis Cardinals to do one. We got elected officials to do one. We got corporate folks to do some. We got some of our board members to do some. So again, it's just, this love letter to the region. And again, tell this big story and get people excited about, man, wouldn't it be great if we as a region, once and for all, got after these big problems and solve them and work together and stop being parochial and stop, again, sprinkling our money around and hold ourselves accountable to the well-being of our neighbors. Wouldn't that be a great thing for our region? Wouldn't that be great if St. Louis was known for, man, they made that comeback. They made that turnaround because they decided as a region to do things differently and to invest differently and to care about everybody in the region and to make sure everybody had a chance to live their best possible life.
Oh, I love it. Chris, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, talking a lot about the incredible work that you have done and what's in the future for you all to do. And the kind of inspiration, the thing that sort of, not only that you have, I think you said the fire and the heat, the heat and the light, the heat and the light for the work that's in front of you. My aspiration, and for everybody who's listening to this, that they feel that in you. They feel both the heat and the passion for the work that you're doing, and I'll feel the light and inspiration for the work that you're doing. And let's just be honest. You and I talk about this a lot, Chris. We're in the middle of some tough stuff. So this is not at all to say that there aren't some tough times we've already been dealing with, but some tough times ahead. But I tell you what, any day of the week, my money's on you. My money's on you every day of the week. I appreciate that,
Tiffany. Look, here's what you can count on. We're going to be in the fight.
Absolutely.
And we're going to give our best, right? What's the old Teddy Roosevelt quote, right? I'd rather get my nose bloody being in the fight than be a naysayer on the sideline.
That's right.
Right. So we're gonna stand up for this community with our community side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and we're gonna keep fighting to make sure everybody can live their best possible life, and that's what we're committed to. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time today, Chris. You are awesome and amazing. To be continued, my friend.
Always good to spend time with you, my friend. Look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know, every new conversation we have with a fierce case-maker gives me new energy for the road, and I hope that as you listen today, you felt the same way. You know, I believe in casemakers everywhere, and if you don't quite see the fierce case-maker in you just yet, hold on, just trust. Work those principles so that you can bring new champions to your justice journey. And if this information inspired you, then please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that you can be one of the first folks who knows when a new episode is dropped. And until next time, stay fierce.